As we approach 2026, it is going to become much more apparent as to how much demand plays a role in silver's price. And there's 4 areas that we need to watch out for in terms of demand, and we're going to talk about those 4 in this video as we explore. The silver market is quite interesting. In fact, we've been hearing about silver squeezes really nonstop since 2021, and when that term was coined, pun intended. But nonetheless, what does it mean for a silver squeeze anyway? Well, a squeeze is literally a sort of a deficit of silver in any one given point, stress point in the supply chain. That's really how it should be interpreted. And it all boils down to demand at a certain place and time. But we're going to take a little bit of a different approach here because silver demand is not a monolithic entity. In fact, overall demand comes from 4 different areas we're going to talk about in this video. My friends over at Summit Metals, they understand the markets quite well, and they are a great dealer that has a widening selection of silver products for you to choose, gold as well as platinum. So experience their great customer service for yourself by clicking on the link down in the description below. And by the way, the Salivate Metal Channel Round is on sale there for those of you who are interested. And let's talk about the types of demand we're looking at. And a hint is in the display that you see before you here. We know that silver is the most versatile precious metal in the periodic table, and its end uses range from silverware to medicine, as well as industrial and technological applications, which account for well over half of the annual global demand. In 2024, global physical silver demand reached 1.16 billion troy ounces, shy of the record of 1.28 billion ounces set in 2022. And we saw where silver prices were back then compared to now. It's pretty amazing. But this is per the Silver Institute's World Silver Survey released in April of this year, according to Investing News. Industrial demand is an upward trend from the push towards renewable energy. In particular, silver demand should benefit from the expansion of the solar energy sector, electronic vehicles, and the growing use of AI and data centers. The metal is a great conductor of both heat and electricity, making it perfect for use in solar panels. So in 2025, the Silver Institute expects global demand for silver to decline by 1% to 1.15 billion ounces, but remain at historically high levels. With all of that in mind, let's take a look at these factors as we head into 2026. So think about that for a moment. Silver demand actually declined this year, but it is still not enough to keep up with the supply. And the supply is not enough to keep up with the demand at this point. So we're going to be very interested to see how this plays out. Now, the number one source of demand is represented by this silver bar now that is unmarked. It's a self-poured silver bar. This represents industrial demand. And the expected demand by the end of this year for that is going to be 677.4 million ounces. Silver is the best electrical and thermal conductor of all the metals. It's no surprise that it's used in industrial fabrication. Industrial silver demand has seen steady growth in recent years, coming in at just 491 million ounces in 2016. Industrial demand rose to 592.3 million ounces in 2022, 657.1 million ounces in 2023, and a record 680.5 million troy ounces in 2024. And so that is something we're going to see likely continue, although move back a little bit for this year is what they're estimating. From 2025, the Silver Institute believes industrial demand will see a slight regression of 0.5% to 677.4 million ounces. And so when we think about these industrial uses, overall silver has about 10,000 uses, the most versatile metal on the periodic table. Electronics obviously is a big player here. Industrial silver is used mainly in multi-layer ceramic capacitors, membrane switchers, silvered film, electrically heated automobile windshields, conductive adhesives, and the preparation of thick film paste for solar panels. Electronics is expected to remain an important driver for silver going forward. And according to the Silver Institute, which expects overall industrial silver consumption to reach 456.6 million ounces in 2025, photovoltaics form the largest portion of electronic demand, totaling 197.6 million tons in 2024. Using silver as conductive ink, photovoltaic cells transform sunlight into energy. These cells are combined to form solar panels. The use of silver in the fabrication of PV cells, also known as solar cells, is seen as an area of rapid growth in the short and medium term. Solar Power Europe reported that total installations reached 2.2 terawatts by the end of 2024 and are expected to more than triple to more than 7 terawatts by 2030. Now, again, this is numbers from the Silver Institute, and other agencies and organizations don't make these kind of predictions. They think that likely we may be at the apex of solar demand. There's still many panels that were produced in China, that were overproduced in China, that are just now going on sale. So that is something to keep in mind as well. Now, the automotive industry is another area that is changing dramatically. Every electrical action in a modern car is activated with silver-coated contacts. Basic functions such as starting the engine, opening power windows, adjusting power seats, and closing power trunks are all activated using a silver membrane switch. Furthermore, back in January of 2021, the Silver Institute reported that, depending on the model, battery electric vehicles contain between 25 to 50 grams of silver, while hybrid vehicles use 18 to 34 grams. That's compared to 15 to 28 grams of silver in a light internal combustion engine vehicle. So there's still silver being used in every type of vehicle out there, even if EVs start to pull back, and many people are thinking that is going to happen in the coming years. In fact, now with the Trump administration lowering fuel efficiency standards, that very well could be the case, and we could see more ICE vehicles on the roads in the coming years. The Silver Institute has projected that automotive demand for silver could reach 90 million ounces by the end of this year. The association states that silver demand from the car industry will be driven by infrastructure demand or investment, broader decarbonization efforts, and expansion of charging stations. So it's not just here in the U.S., but it's around the world. Likely, my guess is that in 2026, we're going to see automotive industry continue to use a whole heck of a lot of silver, especially if we see the Samsung announce the solid-state silver battery by the end of this year. Watch out if that's the case, because they say that those batteries could use up to 1 kilogram of silver for each of those batteries. We also have brazing and soldering that also are a part of this, and brazing helps produce smooth, leak-tight, and corrosion-resistant joints and combining metal parts. The Silver Institute predicts from this segment alone that could total 52.9 million ounces by the end of this month, which is the end of 2025. And jewelry is another area, as represented by this silver-plated piece here. This is not a pure silver. I don't have any pure silver jewelry. Believe it or not, I don't see this pure silver jewelry that much around these days. Of course, I'm not really actively looking for it either. But jewelry is often what lay people think about when they consider silver demand. And it's for good reason. Few materials are better suited for jewelry than silver. Lustrous but resilient, silver responds well to sculpting and requires minimal care and lasts a lifetime. While silver and gold possess similar working qualities, I beg to differ to some extent on that. The white metal enjoys greater reflectivity and can achieve a brilliant polish. A vast amount of silver supply from mine production gets turned into a form of jewelry. This segment grew moderately by 3% in 2024, rising to 208.7 million ounces. But the Silver Institute is predicting a significant reversal in 2025, with a 6% decline to 196.2 million ounces. Now, that being said, India is going to be one of the largest consumers of silver jewelry. And in 2026, if we see gold prices continue to surge forward and even silver prices move up just a little bit, likely we're going to see demand pick right back up and maybe even recover some of that in 2026. Some of that loss that they had this year. We'll see. The third option here is silver bullion coins and rounds and bars. And so you see here's a bar, here's a coin, and this is a silver round. One of the more popular options to get low and cheap silver in your possession. Marked rounds here, privately issued, are one good way to do it. And of course, many of us are very familiar with this type of product. Another source is going to be an investment. Of course, I don't like to think of silver as an investment, but nonetheless, that's how they say it here. Silver coins, bars, and rounds. This category includes silver used in the fabrication to fabricate bullion, as well as small bar purchases by retail investors, according to the Silver Institute. Silver coins have a long history. Minted silver coins were first used in the eastern Mediterranean region in 550 BC. And by 269 BC, the Roman Empire had adopted silver as well. And actually, it was the Roman Republic back then. It wasn't an empire until 44 AD or somewhere thereabouts. Silver was the main circulating currency until the 19th century, when it was phased out of regular coinage. And I'm mistaking, 44 BC, rather. That was Julius Caesar's killing, and then Augustus became emperor. But nonetheless, while silver is not used in many circulating coins today, mints in many countries still create high-purity bullion coins and bars for investors. Physical silver investment demand reached a record of 338.3 million ounces in 2022, which is at the tail end of the silver squeeze movement, but declined considerably to 244.3 million ounces in 2023, before falling another 22% to 190.9 million ounces in 2024. Wow, that puts it into perspective, does it not? However, with rising uncertainty in global financial markets, the Institute is predicting a 7% growth for this year to 204.4 million ounces. So still a far cry from what happened during the silver squeeze movement way back when. And so that is something that is quite interesting to see. And I think considering the number of ounces involved in this form compared to the others, it's going to take a lot to move it, the price, with physical bullion demand, which is why you should not really buy out of fear, but buy out of preparation for what could be coming, and also to protect your wealth for what it is and what it has been for thousands of years. Now, with rising uncertainty, we see that as well being enacted with exchange traded products, stuff that doesn't represent physical silver but are backed by it. To a degree, silver exchange traded products have experienced high volatility over the last 5 years, with demand peaking in 2020 with net inflows of 331.1 million ounces of silver, which fell to 64.9 million ounces in 2021. Following the pandemic, ETPs experienced heavy outflows, with investors selling off 117.4 million ounces in 2022 and 37.6 million ounces in 2023. In 2024, as uncertainty began to steep into global financial markets, investors once again returned to ETPs, pushing demand towards 61.6 million ounces of silver flowing into the products. The Silver Institute expects demand to actually grow a bit in 2025 to 70 million ounces, attributing these inflows to cuts in the Federal Reserve rates, concerns over U.S. debt load, and instability around the world geopolitically. And as there was a fairly big whale buyer that bought some silver in exchange-traded funds, and that very well could play a role as well as moving to that number and even higher. The fourth and final category is silverware. As you can see by this silver fork and silver spoon, all sterling, 925 silver. And it's not talked about a whole lot, but let's see what they say about that. Sterling silver has been the standard for silver hollowware and silver flatware since the 14th century. Silver cutlery and other decor last for generations as it resists tarnish and as a traditional decoration in homes around the world. Base metal copper is mixed with silver to strengthen its use for cutlery, bowls, and decorative items. Demand for the metal from the silverware industry reached 73.5 million ounces in 2022. a pittance compared to the other factors, but still, it will play a role. But it has declined since then to 54.2 million ounces in 2024. The Silver Institute expects the market to shed another 15% in 2025 to 46 million ounces. And a lot of people are selling off their silverware. That's becoming more rare. Less of it being produced. It's just not a thing anymore. And if you do see it, you may see silver-plated base metals, much like this chain being silver-plated. So that is another area and factor that will have minimal impact. Likely, probably, we're going to continue to see that decline in 2026. But nonetheless, those are the 4 different demand factors to watch out for. And with silver, as we see supply not able to keep up with the demand, and likely that will be the case again next year in 2026. Let me know what your thoughts are about this video. I hope you found it interesting, insightful, and educational. Would like to extend a multitude of gratitude to each and every one of you for taking the time to watch, and encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.